Hi everyone, I'm Miss Lake. I hope you're all having a great year so far. I will be presenting on behalf of the VHS school counselors, Mrs. Henges and Mrs. Brock, in hopes that this presentation will start to give you some thoughts on your post-high school graduation plans. If you have not started to think about it already, it's time to start thinking about what you're going to do after high school. So we're going to go over a couple things here today, and let's get started. First, let's discuss the high school graduation requirements. To graduate high school, you need an unweighted 2.0 GPA, 24 credits in the required areas, passing a level, which is a level 3, on the grade 10 FSA, ELA, and Algebra 1 end of course exam or a concordant score, and complete all Florida virtual school courses, if applicable, prior to graduation. So, what is next for you? What do you have in mind for after high school? Do you have any ideas? Try to think about the 3 E's for after high school. You should be enlisted, enrolled, or employed. Thinking about the military, then you should be sure to talk to your counselor so you can sign up and take the ASVAB exam. Think about having a recruiter. Maybe that's somebody that you need to get in touch with. We do have recruiters that come to the school on a regular basis. If you're thinking about a college or university, you need to start to consider whether you would like to attend a 2-year or 4-year institution. Would you like them to be a private or a public? The location, are you going to stay in-state or out-of-state? What academic programs, majors, and minors do they offer? And of course, the cost and financial aid. Then there's also the vocational training or workforces that they have available, and we'll be talking about that here shortly. Here is a timeline to show you what you should be doing now as an 11th grader and how you plan to get ready for college if that's what is something that you'd like to do. So winter just passed. Let's review some of the key points from January until March. You should be working on all your courses, continuing to earn the highest grades possible. Remember, this is the last semester, which is your 11th grade second semester, where your GPA will be updated before colleges see it for the first time. So when you apply in August of your senior year, your GPA will not change until January. So this is, again, the last semester where your GPA will be updated before colleges see it. Making sure that you register for the SAT or ACT is also the time to be doing that now. Moving forward, from March until May of your junior year, you should be doing the following. Create a rigorous schedule for senior year. Definitely make sure that you have 2 years of a foreign language. Start to research your colleges and place them into categories, such as the dream schools, the just right schools, and the safety schools. If you're unsure of your plans, try visiting the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics website. You can research different careers, salary options, education needed, growth rate, etc. Apply for summer internships and programs and wrap up your community service hours. Then at the end of your junior year, from May to August, you should be visiting colleges or attend their virtual tours, request information if you haven't received anything already. Research each college and university that you plan to apply for. This way, you know the deadlines for each school and the requirements for admissions. Practice essay prompts and finish up any community service, update your resume, prepare for your AP exams, finals, SAT or ACT prep, and of course, knowing when applications open. Most applications open in August 1st. So make sure that you apply for the correct term, for example, fall of 2023. As you start to visit and research colleges, you will see some language about how to apply and what is needed for your application to be considered complete. For example, on some things you may see the very popular The Common App or Coalition App, which are ways to apply to multiple colleges at once. Also, colleges are asking students to self-report their academic history and test scores. So you may see something called the SAR, which is the Student Self-Reported Academic Record, or the SPARC, which is specific to the University of Central Florida, that needs to be completed in order to apply. So it's not just the application that you need to do. There are several parts to this process. Then the FAFSA, which is the financial aid part of the college process, is also needed to be completed. Some institutions will ask for this for scholarship purposes and not just to apply for federal aid. But not to worry, all of these platforms and websites will be discussed during your senior year at your senior meeting with your counselor in the fall. Please listen closely for this slide. If there is one thing that you take from this presentation as a junior, you need to register and take either an SAT and or an ACT before you leave for summer break. This is so important, and every student should take the SAT and or ACT at least one time, regardless of your plans for after high school. It's been recommended that for the first time, you take each exam once. Then, whatever exam you feel most comfortable with, retake that exam to improve your score. The SAT and ACT are different exams, and it doesn't matter which one you take. Don't waste your time taking the SAT or ACT just to see how it is. Each test has multiple study sites, materials, and free test prep to prepare for the exam. We do have some good news. We just learned that on March 2nd of this year, all 11th graders will take the SAT school day free of charge. There will not be a makeup for this test, and you do not need to register or sign up. This is a reportable test for those who plan to attend college after high school. Also on the slide, you'll see the other dates that are available throughout the year. Remember, those who may still be lacking the FSA ELA Grade 10 exam and or the Algebra 1 EOC, you can use the SAT or ACT exam as a concordant score. This will fulfill the requirement for graduation, so be sure to review the links on this presentation in order to sign up and register for the next exam. Here is some college and university tips and information if you plan on attending college after graduation. So did you know that you are considered a freshman first time in college, including dual enrollment students? That is a very important part of the application process, so knowing that is a good start. Make sure that you be authentic, distinguished, and passionate about you in your college admissions essay. Write about how you reached a goal and not just about the goal itself. Application fees are approximately $30 to maybe even over $100 depending on the school. Fee waivers may be available. Be sure to talk to your school counselor. And also, recommendation letters are not always required, but it's important to have them just in case. Make sure that you give your recommender several weeks' notice and always communicate with your counselor. Another avenue after you graduate is to attend a Florida State College, sometimes called a community college or junior colleges. These are great pathways for everyone, especially since so many of the state colleges have a direct connect pathway for automatic acceptance to some of the major Florida universities. For example, the College of Central Florida and Lake Sumter State College has a direct connect pathway to the University of Central Florida. Of course, there are some stipulations to this, but overall, State College is a great opportunity to begin your college journey. If you feel that you are someone who isn't quite sure what they want to do after high school, State College is also a great start, or attending a trade or tech school. Trade and tech schools have wonderful opportunities to help you join the workforce quickly right out of high school and start making money. Usually, they are not as expensive as college, and with a certification, it can help you with job placement and provides hands-on training for the desired field you want to pursue. So how do you know if state college and or trade tech schools is a right for you? For example, maybe if your GPA or test scores aren't exactly where they want them to be, or you just aren't sure what to do right after high school, or maybe you plan to stay home and work. Do you need to be close for other circumstances? Remember, we've been living with COVID for the past few years. State college is one of the most realistic pathways. Affordability, smaller class sizes, location, acceptance rates, success rates are very high, and overall a great stepping stone. Also on this slide, we'll be able to access all of the hyperlinks for the local and state and trade and tech schools in the area. Let's move on to some other topics. Do you want to play sports in college? Have you been recognized by some college coaches? Do you have the potential to be a college athlete or even get into the NBA? If you haven't already heard, one of the first things you need to know is what is the NCAA. The National Collegiate Athletic Association, or NCAA, is a non-for-profit organization that regulates student athletes from up to 1,200 North American institutions. College-bound student athletes preparing to enroll in a Division I or Division II school need to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center to ensure that they have met amateurism standards and are academically prepared for college coursework. Make sure that you ask your coach about which organization is applicable to you and your goals. So another big question you may have is, how do I pay for college? What is the FAFSA? The FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. This is a form that is completed by current and prospective college students in the United States to determine their eligibility for student financial aid. Lots of states and colleges also use the FAFSA to determine which students get financial aid and how much they'll receive. The FAFSA asks for information about you and your family's finances, including tax returns, so you'll need your parents' help to complete this. There are resources available on this slide, such as what are the basic eligibility criteria, What do you do if you're not a US citizen? And of course, the FAFSA forecaster, which you can use to estimate what type of aid you may be eligible at this time. Another way to help pay for college in Florida is to qualify for Bright Futures. The Florida Bright Futures Scholarship Program established a lottery-funded scholarship to reward Florida high school graduates for high academic achievement. This is a merit-based scholarship. Students must complete a Florida Financial Aid application, also called the FFAA, to the Office of Student Financial Aid to be eligible for these programs. In order to apply for state and scholarship and grant programs, a student must first create a student account. After logging into your account, you may proceed to complete the FFAA, which, remember, this is different than the FAFSA. We, as your counselors, will help you do this in your senior year, usually sometime after winter break in the second semester. You have to have your application submitted by August 31st of the year that you graduate in. So again, we're not going to do this any sooner. We're going to be doing this in senior year. Making sure that you check with your counselor and ask any questions before you start filling out forms on the internet. Another question you may have is, does every senior have to do this? Well, yes. And why? Because this is the only time a student can apply for this program is when you are a senior in high school. So whether you plan to take a year off, but you still qualify, we want to make sure your application is completed. The application is very short, easy to do, won't take any time at all. Knowing your social security number is one of the most important things that you need for the application, and to answer some basic questions, and you are all set. Here is the eligibility chart for Florida Bright Futures, so you can see things a little bit easier and understand how to qualify. Remember, this can change each year with the Florida legislation, but this is what the current eligibility requirements are. So for the Florida Academic, which is the highest level awarded, and for the Florida Medallion, which is that middle level, you need to complete 16 high school courses in the following areas: 4 Englishes, 4 maths, 3 natural sciences, 3 social studies, and those 2 world languages. So for the Florida Academic, as you can see, the GPA requirements are a little bit higher than the Florida Medallion. So making sure that you have a 3.5 in those 16 courses. And for your college entrance exams, for the class of 2023, as you can see, you will need to earn a 29 on the ACT or a 1330 on the SAT and have 100 hours of community service. For the Florida Medallion, GPA with these classes need to be a 3.0. For the class of 2023, your ACT score will need to be a 25 or a SAT of a 1210 and 75 hours of community service. So keep in mind, the core courses that you're in are what's going to count most for your eligibility for Bright Futures. So Hope or an elective or your academy will not count in that GPA, and that recalculated GPA for you. Now for scholarships. What most financial aid representatives will tell you is that the place where students get the most money for college is actually at their local high school. And boy, is that true. Take a look at some of the awards over the years. And this is just for VHS students. Last year, the seniors went home with over $355,000. Scholarship applications will be available through a VHS Google Scholarship Classroom created in your senior year. Students can join the classroom and invite parents as needed. There are approximately 30 to maybe even 40 different scholarships available from local and community organizations and clubs of the villages that will be posted in the classroom. Also in the classroom is the Buffalo Scholarship Foundation application. The Buffalo Scholarship Foundation, or BSF, is a recognized non-for-profit organization which was formed to assist graduating seniors from the village's high school in pursuing their dreams of success in a post-secondary education. There are also approximately maybe even 40 to 50 different scholarships awarded from the Buffalo Scholarship Foundation. But the good news is that you do only have to fill out one application to be eligible for the foundation award, which is kind of like a Common App for college, but just for scholarships. The Buffalo Scholarship Foundation application is going to be an online application that will be available in the spring of your senior year. So what are the requirements to be eligible for the Buffalo Scholarship Foundation? Seniors must have 150 hours of community service, and parent involvement, which is your PI, must be completed in order to apply. We also want to remind you about the Buffalo Promise, a scholarship awarded by the Buffalo Scholarship Foundation to eligible graduating VHS seniors, beginning with the class of 2023, who will be attending a post-secondary institution. and this scholarship is guaranteed. The amount value for the Buffalo Promise Scholarship is based upon the number of years you have been a Villages Charter School student. For each year you have been enrolled at VCS, you can multiply that by $200. For example, if you have been at VCS for 6 years, you could earn approximately $1,200. And yes, kindergarten will count. Just as a reminder, the Buffalo Scholarship Foundation board members may change the award value based upon the available funds and tuition rates at the Florida State College level. So who is eligible for the Promise? You must be enrolled and graduate from VHS, meet the Buffalo Scholarship Foundation requirements of 150 hours of community service, and parent involvement hours need to be completed before you graduate. You also need to plan to attend a post-secondary institution after high school. There is no application for the Buffalo Promise Scholarship. If you qualify, funds will be deposited directly with the post-secondary institution of your choice. So with that said, make sure you are following our core values each day while you're here at VHS, so you can be part of history as one of the first students to receive the Buffalo Promise. If you have any questions on this, please see me, Ms. Lake, or your school counselor for more information. So this concludes today's presentation. Here are some resources for you to check out. We'll be sure to post this presentation so you have access to it and all the links in our Teacher Connection page. We hope that this presentation has helped you get excited for the future and whatever your post-graduation plans are. If you have any questions, make sure you email your school counselor and get in touch with us as soon as you can. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation on how to fund your college education without going broke. As you can see from the first slide here, I have an extensive background in finance and investments over the years, both teaching and working in the field. Probably the most important credential that I have, though, is the bottom one. I'm the parent of 3 charter school students. One is currently a senior, so we're in the preparations for college, and I have 2 that are in college, so I'm paying these bills now, so I'm very familiar with tonight's topic. Okay, the agenda today, we're going to talk about 3 main areas. We're going to say, is it worth it? Is college worth it? Save, 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 an important part of having preparing yourself for college, and other sources of funds. Our Q&A section will be a little different. I'll put my email address up on the last slide, and that will allow you to send me questions if you have any. Our first slide here compares employment or earnings, average median weekly earnings, with unemployment rates. And this is 2019 data. And you can see that as you move up the scale, higher levels of education have substantially lower levels of unemployment and higher median salaries, weekly salaries. So that's real important. That shows you that there is value in a college or in advanced education. The next slide shows you historically how those unemployment rates have trended over time. And the red line is less than a high school education, less than a high school diploma. And you can see that line is consistently above the purple line, which is the high school graduate, no college, the green line, which is some college or an associate's degree, and the light blue line, which is a bachelor's degree. In all cases, whether recession or otherwise, you can see that those lines hold pretty consistently. And the bachelor's degree, even in the 08-09 recession, only went as high as about 5%. Certainly this current recession you saw on the far right of the slide, everything spiked way up, but that's a result of the shutdowns that we had, and you saw the quick recovery. But again, those lines consistently kept their place where they really didn't cross each other. You also find that person with a college education versus someone without a college education, the salary is higher for the same job. And as you can see here, for a variety of different types of jobs, the salary of that college education individual is higher across the board. One other thing of note is over time, job requirements have changed. Going back to 1991, 33% of jobs really only required, of what we call good jobs. These are jobs that for younger people pay over $35,000 a year, for people 45 and above pay over $45,000 a year. These so-called good jobs, 33% of the workforce were able to get by with just that high school education and have those good quality jobs. You fast forward to 2016, the latest data available on this, and that number has dropped down to 20% of available jobs for the high school person, Whereas the college person, the total jobs available that are considered good has grown in quantity. It's doubled for the college educated individual and represents 56% of that market. Also, you can see how education has changed over time. Going all the way back to 1940, you can see roughly 88% of employees had either no high school diploma or a high school diploma. Fast forward up to the current decade, and you can see that has pretty much flipped, and now roughly 80% have some kind of college in the job force. So you're competing against people that are higher educated, making it much harder to stand up for jobs if you don't have that same level of education. Of course, everything comes with a cost, and that cost is the tuition that you're going to pay to send your child to college. And this slide shows an example of several local schools. I've got University of Central Florida, University of Florida, Lake Sumter State College, and Stetson University, so we can look at the private versus the public cost. And I'm going to comment on UCF in particular, in that UCF didn't list out a book number and really didn't list out some of the other incidental room and board related costs. So their number looks a lot smaller than University of Florida, but having a student at UCF and a student at UF, I'll tell you, they're both about the same. It runs about $20,000 to $21,000 a year for everything if they're living up in the area. Lake Sumter State College is the traditional community college route, much cheaper, and this numbers here assumes living at home, so the room and board cost really is a transportation cost and other incidentals around that, but you can see it can be basically half what the four-year university cost is. And then the private university, the tuition is substantially higher, room and board roughly similar in those cases, but that can get to $64,000 in this example. And this information is right from their website, so you can go find it yourselves. Another cost associated with going to college is the delay in the time that you enter the workforce. So you go to school for 4 years, you now have 4 years where you weren't earning money, versus those who graduated high school, went straight into the workforce, or only did some college education. They're starting in the workforce sooner, so their cumulative net earnings start out earlier than the college graduate. So once that individual graduates with the bachelor's degree, they've got to kind of catch up to that lifetime earnings of those other individuals. And as you can see on this chart, that catch-up point in all cases happens at about age 35. Now, certainly these are averages. If you earn more, you're going to catch up faster. You earn less than the average, you'd catch up a little slower. And I also want to highlight, if you look at the scale on the left, it goes up to $1.2 million cumulative across a lifetime when you take that all the way out into the early 60s. And we're going to use that number shortly. Just because you get an education, an advanced education, doesn't mean you're going to earn a higher salary. However, as you can see from this chart, having a higher education gives you a higher chance of having a higher salary. So as you can see on the lower bars, primarily in the blues, the light blues, those are the lower salary ranges, versus the higher bar, the advanced degree, is primarily in the oranges and into the gray, which is the higher salaries. And you can see the higher education has wider bars in those ranges, higher percentages of odds of getting those higher salaries. Again, a small percentage won't necessarily earn the higher salaries, but you have a much greater chance of doing that if you have a higher education level. So this would be the point, if we were in a live audience, where I'd ask for a show of hands, how many in the audience would like to earn 7% on their money? And I'm going to assume everyone raises their hands, because we pretty much always get that to happen, because who wouldn't like to have 7% on their money, especially with interest rates as low as they are? So as you can see now, when you look at the cost for the college, and I've done the 2 + 2 is 2 years at the state college or the old community college way, and then 2 years at the full university, then the in-state 4 years at the in-state university, and then the private college like we looked at for Stetson. So $20,000 a year approximately for the in-state gets you to about $80,000. You're going to work for about 40 years in your life. You have what's estimated to be a median earnings, excess earnings of $30,000 a year. $30,000 times 40 years ends up to that $1.2 million we saw on the other slide. And if I do, as a numbers person, as an investment guy, if I calculate the compound annual growth rate, the return on that investment, that $80,000 for the in-state, for instance, and that result of getting that excess of $1.2 million over the 40 years, that works out to be a 7% annual growth rate. A little higher if you spend less when you do the 2+2, and lower certainly if you spend more to do the private school. But that 7% is a pretty good number, pretty good return on investment. Okay, now we'll move on to our next section, save, save, save. And save, save, save is important in any type of saving you do. Saving for retirement, saving for a house, saving for your child's education. You want to save early, you want to save often, and you want to save smart. Those are the three keys to success for any savings plan you want to do. We'll start out with the save early. This is all about the power of compounding. And if you have any questions on the power of compounding, you can certainly email me after this presentation, or you can just have a chat with your high schooler because they teach this in the classes here at the charter school. So let's say you start out in year one with $100 and you put it in the bank and you're getting 5% interest. I know you can't get 5% now, but I like the nice round numbers. So you earn $5 on your $100 in that first year. In year two, you now have $105 invested, earning that 5%. So you earn $5.25. You've earned interest on your interest. That's compounding. And that continues on. And by year four, you can see you have $115.76. You're earning $5.79. The earnings grows. It compounds over time because of the interest on interest effect. Now let's talk about save early. Let's say you put that $100 away when your child is born. If you did that, and they're going to go to college at age 18, so at the end of 17 years, what you'd have left in the bank, that one deposit of $100 would earn $129.20 cumulatively across those 17 years. You'd have $229.20. However, if you waited until 5 years old, you put that $100 away, your earnings drop by about $50, and you only earn $79.59. That's about 21% less by waiting those 5 years. You lose 5 years of that compounding effect, and it has a substantial impact. Fast forward all the way to the right-hand side of the slide, the far side of the slide, and you can see if you just put the money away, when they're ready to graduate and go to college, you end up with just $100. You have no earnings. So the earlier you can save, the more chance you have that compounding effect in place. Your money earns money for you. It's working for you instead of you working for the money, and you can achieve some quality savings. So let's take that out and say, instead of doing save often, we take that out and say, instead of doing just $100 up front, you do $100 a year. So you put $100 at the beginning of each year away. So at the beginning of the first year, you put $100 in. At the end of year one, you'd have $105. That $5 because of the 5%. Year two, you put another $100 in. So now I have $205 that's going to earn a return. I end up with $215.25. Year three, I end up with $331.01. By the time they turn 17, or by the end of their 17th year, you now have $2,713 saved. But you only put away $1,700. You ended up with compounding, ended up with about $1,000 in earnings gain. So that's substantial. Now let's take that one step further and let's save a little more often. What if you did $50 a paycheck? And I'm assuming you earn a paycheck twice a month. So this would be effectively $100 a month, but you did it every paycheck. So some of it's going in earlier, more compounding. And you did that for 17 years. And as you can see from this chart, if you did that and you just put the money under the mattress or in a mason jar out in the backyard, if you can find them, I understand they're hard to come by right now as everyone's home and doing baking and things. If you did that, just doing that $50 per paycheck for those 17 years, you'd end up with over $20,000 saved for your child's college education. Now, if you can earn 5%, the number I've been using through some of the slides, that jumps up to $32,000. So you can see about a $12,000 gain from earning that interest on interest, that compounding effect. And if you could earn 8%, if you can get market returns, stock market returns, that $50 a paycheck becomes $43,000. That's substantial dollars, and that's going to help pay, go a long way towards paying for your child's college education. Okay, finally we'll talk about Save Smart. You have different ways you can save. Your options include, as I already mentioned, the mattress or the mason jars buried out back, right? You can just put the money aside and earn nothing on it. You can put it in a taxable account. You can put it in a bank account earning, unfortunately, what is very small interest because interest rates are so low right now, or put it in some kind of a taxable investment account, or you can use some tax-protected plans that were created for education. And those include the Coverdell Education Savings Account, or ESA, and the 529 plans, which I'm sure you've heard a lot about. So we'll start with the Coverdell ESA, which is formerly known as the Education IRA. It kind of grew out of the same laws. In a Coverdell Education Savings Account, you're only allowed to contribute $2,000 per year per child. That's a hard cap. You can't put in more than that. There's penalties if you do. Your contributions are non-deductible, so it's different than an IRA in that perspective, and you can only contribute to this account up until the child turns 18 years old. And if you're a higher earner, there are income phase-outs that are involved. The 2019 tax year numbers, the phase-out was between $95,000 and $110,000 for an individual, or $190,000 and $220,000 for joint filers. So if you earn over that, you can't even contribute to one of these accounts. Another important fact about a Coverdell Education Savings Account is it may impact financial aid eligibility. When you fill out financial aid forms, they're trying to determine what resources the family has to pay for the child's education. And an asset such as a Coverdell Education Savings Account is an asset of that child. It belongs to them. You're just serving as the custodian until they turn 18. They could then technically take over at 18, take over the account. Being an asset of theirs, that's going to count as part of a resources that you have for financial aid eligibility, and that could reduce what your potential is for financial aid. But on the other side, the Coverdell Education Savings Account is self-directed. You can invest it how you see fit. So I did this for my kids, but then again, I work in the industry, so I was comfortable with doing the investing and managing that myself. So that's something you have to be comfortable with on this type of an account. You can use the dollars for anything from K to 12, private schools from K to 12, or for post-secondary education expenses at qualified expenses. They have to be proper, levels of tuition for books, those kind of things, room and board. The other important thing on a Coverdell Education Savings Account is the account has to be used up by the time the child turns 30. Otherwise, there are penalties, and if it's not used for education purposes, there's a tax penalty. You pay 10% penalty, plus you pay tax on any of the gains in the account. So that's real important. Now, you can move money between accounts. If I am left over with some money in one of my kids' accounts, I can shift it over to one of the other kids' accounts, as long as, again, they're under 30. The 18-year-old rule doesn't apply there. You're shifting money, you're not contributing to the account. Now we switch over to the 529 plans, and 529 plans have gotten really popular because they're promoted by different states. They market them out there. They work with financial advisors to help market those plans, so they're sold as kind of a product for college savings. And there's a lot of good benefits to them. They come in two flavors. There are savings plans, and then there's prepaid tuition plans. You're free to invest in any state's plans, but there is usually some kind of a benefit or a kicker if you invest in a plan within your state, assuming your child goes to the school within that state. But if they don't, you can use the dollars. There's a formula built into them as far as how those earnings on a prepaid plan would be used in another state or be used out of the current state. Savings plans, you're just savings dollars, so it's not an issue there. Important distinction on the 529 plans are that they may not affect your financial aid eligibility for your child depending on how you title the asset. So as an example, if grandma or grandpa opens up the 529 plan for the benefit of the child, grandma and grandpa are the owners of the account for the benefit of the child that way. It's their asset. It's not the child's or the family's assets. It doesn't go on the FAFSA application. So make sure you ask good questions when you set up the account originally, and make sure you get that a good understanding so that you title it in such a way that you can maintain maximum eligibility. The account owner maintains full control. So if grandma and grandpa did that, they're the ones that control distributions. And if for some reason they decide junior doesn't deserve the college education, or they don't like the choice of major and they say they're not going to contribute, they control that distribution. So make sure you stay on good terms with grandma and grandpa if you have them set up the account. Same thing, you can use it for K to 12 expenses and for post-secondary expenses, qualified education expenses, and that's defined in the tax code what that is. If you're so inclined, you can start a 529 plan for anybody. You can find a neighbor, or if you feel so generous, you're welcome to open up one for my senior to help pay for her college education. You can contribute money to anyone for a 529, and you can move money around between them, between different children, or again, to somebody that's not even related. There are gift limitations that falls under the gifting law as far as how contributions work, but you're not limited to $2,000. You can put substantially more amounts, and there are no income restrictions like you see on the cover deal. There's also a new twist that was added, I think it was about a year ago, where you can actually use $529 to help pay student loan payments under a certain formula, and you can now use them for apprenticeship programs, so not just for college, which is important because college is not for everybody. Florida in particular, and this is the website, and any of the websites I reference, I have a slide at the very end that lists all the websites together so you don't have to scramble writing them down, and we're going to make the slides available to you as well. So Florida's website here, Florida offers both a prepaid savings plan, or a prepaid plan and a savings plan. The prepaid plan comes in several different versions based on what you want to pay for. And the earlier you start, because the state is allowing for compounding, the earlier you start, the cheaper it is to be able to have these things fully funded. So as an example here, these are right off the website. I pulled it yesterday, so this is current information. You have the 2-year college plan, and colleges, the old community colleges that are now known as state colleges, the 2-year college plan, the 4-year college plan. They became state colleges because they began offering 4-year degrees. The 2+2 plan starts at the state college and moves on to the state university. And then you have your option if you want to do the full 4-year university, the full-blown university outright. You can do the 4-year plan that pays for the entire 4 years at the university, or you can pay it a year at a time with the prepayment. So you get versions based on whatever your needs or your situation are. The savings plan is just a savings plan. You contribute what you want to contribute. It's invested with the options that they give you for investments, and it grows over time. And the dollars that you accumulate with the growth, with the compounding, is what you have available to pay for college in the future. And again, easy to use in a different state, whereas the prepaid has that formula to adjust it because it's based on prepaid for the Florida, guaranteeing the Florida tuition, not for out of state. So that formula comes into play if you went out of state. Okay, now we'll move on to our last section, other sources of money. Other sources come in different forms: scholarships, grants, there's work study, there's loans, and there's also tax deductions and credits that are available. And those you talk to your tax accountant for. There are also special programs in certain circumstances. If you're a veteran, there's a lot of dedicated programs. If you're going into medical training, a healthcare area, there are certain specific things available there. Teaching, there's things available for teaching, and there's also some money available if you do public service. However, everything you do in this section starts with what's called FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Financial Aid. That can be found on this website, federalstudentaid.gov. And I've got it here bookmarked where the FAFSA form is. If you go and just Google for FAFSA, you're going to get a whole bunch of listings for a bunch of sites that are happy to take money from you to help you prepare the free application for federal student aid. So don't pay for it. You still have to gather all the information. The help they're going to do is tell you what information to gather. Well, the FAFSA application kind of walks you through that and actually has a link to the IRS to import your tax information rather than you having to go dig and type it in. So they've really simplified this process quite a bit, but you've got to do this application or you're not eligible for a whole host of things. Florida also has a website, floridastudentfinancialaid.org. This lists a whole bunch of availability, and the one I've highlighted here, if you can't read it, is Bright Future Scholarship. Bright Future is a very valuable scholarship you'd like to maintain eligibility for your child. Bright Future is the lottery-funded scholarships by the state of Florida, and it comes in essentially 4 different flavors. There's the Florida Academic Scholar, the Florida Medallion Scholar, the Florida Gold Seal CAPE Scholar, and the Florida Gold Sealed Vocational Scholar. The Academic Scholar pays 100% of Florida tuition and fees, plus an additional $300 per semester for books and other miscellaneous fees. So that's pretty powerful. You know, that's basically $6,000 to $7,000 a year at a 4-year university, a state university like University of Florida. The Florida Medallion Scholar pays 75% of that tuition, doesn't give you the extra $300 kickers. And the other 2 programs, the Florida Gold Seal programs, are geared towards vocational schools. So if college is not for you, there's an option to get some dollars if you maintain eligibility for Bright Futures. If you're a Florida high school graduate, you're eligible. You have to meet certain academic requirements. and you have to enroll in a Florida public or private post-secondary institution. There is an allowance in Bright Futures if you go to a Florida private school. However, you must apply for this through this special application, the Florida Financial Aid application. This one does not use the FAFSA. You must apply for this by August 31st of the year that the child graduates high school. So if they graduate in April, you have until that August 31st. Well, don't worry, don't scramble around and try and figure out where to get this application. The charter school, the counselors come around and meet with, or they used to come around, I guess now with some of students virtual, it's done a little bit differently, but the school works with every graduating senior to get this application filled out. So that's done for you. The Florida Academic Scholar, this lists all the requirements. This is the one that pays 100%. It looks at a weighted GPA of at least 3.5, so having the right grade point average helps. You also have to have certain classes you've taken. Thank you again, charter school. All of our students have to take these required classes. It's part of their curriculum, so they're going to check these boxes off without any effort on your part. They have to do community service. For this one, you have to have at least 100 hours. Thank you again, charter school. You've required community service hours all the way along those high school years for our students, so they're going to meet this requirement if they've met the school's requirement. And then you have to have certain scores on the SAT and ACT, and that, from what I've seen, tends to be the hardest one for the students to work at. So make sure they practice and prepare and really work towards that SAT score. There are other ways to qualify in certain cases, and I would direct you to the Florida website for that to look those up. Also important to note that anything with Bright Futures can change every year. The legislature, when they meet, they can decide to make changes. If you go back, I think it was about 4 years ago, this one didn't cover 100%. It only covered about 75%. They decided to up it a little bit. Long ago, it used to cover 100%, and then they downed it a little bit. So it can change year after year. And in fact, the SAT scores went up effective this year, or slightly higher levels than they were in the past. So they raised the dollars, but raised the bar to be able to get the dollars. The second level, the Florida Medallion Scholar, the one that covers 75%, has those same education requirements, has a slightly lower weighted GPA average of 3.0, and slightly lower SAT and ACT scores, and slightly lower community service requirements, again, all covered by the charter school requirements. And then the Florida Gold Seal Vocational covers up to $48 per credit hour, looks at a 3.0 weighted GPA, so that GPA is important, looks at certain courses again, and has test scores. You have SAT, ACT, or PERT as an option for test scores. And again, subject to change like any of these. All right, we'll move on to grants. Grants are really, really good because grants don't have to be paid back. Just like the scholarship to Bright Futures, it's not something you have to pay back. The most common grant, the one most people have heard of, is the federal Pell Grant. This is a needs-based grant, and again, draws from that FAFSA application. All these grants, if you don't do the FAFSA, you're not eligible for them. If you do the FAFSA, you are 100% eligible for these. So it's important to go out there and do that FAFSA application, complete it timely, and be eligible for these. And a lot of schools will offer scholarships, especially the private schools, but they will pull from the FAFSA to see if there's a need, to see if you meet any of their criteria internally. Work study program is also an option. Your child can get a job. The official work study program is done through the FAFSA, and if your child is eligible and willing and checks off the box in that application, they're eligible. They may get a job on campus doing something. That's kind of a work study program that is very flexible, working around their school hours. They can always get a job off campus doing something in the private sector, working fast food, working retail, working something, wherever they can earn some dollars to help pay for college costs. But this is the official program. It goes through the FAFSA. And it's another non-loan way to cover college expenses. Finally, I'll direct you back to that studentaid.gov website. This is the generic homepage. The other slide directed you specifically to the FAFSA, but it's found at the same place. When you go through the FAFSA, you're going to be eligible for different types of financial aid, and all that information and a whole bunch of other college-related information can be found at this federal student aid website, including lending. The loans, which are the most common form of financial aid that's awarded, have the problem that they have to be paid back, right? You borrow money, you got to pay it back. And unfortunately, we hear horror stories of students that have borrowed lots of money and are struggling to pay that back because of either a low-paying job or having no job or borrowed way too much. Whatever the case is, they got to pay this back. So of the 3 different loan types listed on this slide, The subsidized loan is the most important one. That's the one you want if you're going to go the loan path. It's fixed rate interest. Right now, that rate is 2.75%, fixed over the life of the loan. It's subsidized in that the federal government is paying the interest. There's no interest accumulation while you're in school. The interest accumulation and the repayment doesn't begin until 6 months after you've stopped going to school, at least part-time, at least half-time. Unsubsidized loans, those are the kind of what I call the dark side of compounding. And I've got my Darth Vader on there. Unsubsidized loans, you don't have to start paying them back until 6 months after you stop going part-time, the half-time level. But all during that time, if it takes 4 years or 5 years to graduate, you're accumulating interest. So you borrow $10,000, you graduate, and you think, I got to pay back $10,000? No, you got to pay back a lot more because you've been accumulating interest on that balance. So that one can actually grow in balance. And there's also the Parent Plus loan. The Parent Plus loan is not an obligation of the student. It's actually an obligation of the parent. You're putting yourself on the line to pay for your child's college education. They come at a higher interest rate. And again, if you're trying to save for retirement, now you're straddling yourself with another loan. So, it's a matter of balancing things out. Your student is younger. Let them take out the loan. Let them take care of that. Let their earnings pay for that education that they took out if you have to go the loan route. This is my moment where I kind of step onto the soapbox and give a little lecture. All jobs are not created equal. There's different earnings in each job. And there's nothing wrong with any of these jobs. If you choose to go into elementary education, second from the bottom on this list, the median salary listed here, and this was a couple years ago, was $37,000 a year. Nothing wrong with that. It's a wonderful career. And that's a decent earnings. But if you choose to go to a private liberal arts college and borrow $50,000 a year to go to that private school and graduate with $200,000 worth of debt, $37,000 a year, you're saddled with a mortgage before you even get started in life. Go to the public school, find the different programs and grants that are out there, pay far less money for that degree so that your debt level, if you go the loan route, is more commensurate with the potential earnings down the road. If you go and become the petroleum engineer, the one on the top of the list, and you borrowed $100,000, well, your salary can pay that out in 1 year. Obviously, you're not going to pay it in 1 year, but you can pay that debt off a lot quicker. You're not strapped for decades trying to pay down what is essentially a mortgage right out of school. So just kind of keep that in mind. College is job training. It's not an experience. We often hear about college being an experience. It's job training. Keep in mind what the job is and what the salaries are relative to how much you're going to spend. That's the investor in me, the risk, the return on your investment. A few other websites to look at where you can find other scholarships that are available. There's one known as fastweb.com. Fastweb is kind of like a dating site, but for scholarships. Your child creates a profile. The profile then will go in and match them against other scholarships, kind of like date matching, right? And make recommendations for them to apply for these different scholarships. So it's a pretty simple process. Once you create your profile, it's in there, and you're just essentially clicking a button to go apply. But you got to click the button. You got to actually take the time to do that to apply for these scholarships. Every year we hear about scholarships where there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 people that apply, and maybe all of them get some money. If more people apply, just think of how many chances you should have. The more you apply, it's kind of a numbers game. The more things you can apply for, the more likelihood you're going to get some of these scholarship dollars. Another example site is scholarships.com. Same kind of thing. You'll create a profile and you search for different scholarships. So that's another one to watch for. And if you just did kind of a general search on Google for unusual scholarships, you'll get all kinds of unique ones. I kind of like this one, the Chick and Sophie Major Memorial Duck Calling Contest. Whoever does the best duck call gets $2,000. There's a Tall Clubs International for very tall students. There's athlete scholarships. As a Star Trek fan, there's a Starfleet Academy Scholarship. One of my all-time favorites is the Zombie Apocalypse Scholarship. You write an essay talking about how you would survive the zombie apocalypse, and if you're picked, you can get $2,000. And probably the best one, just because I can't believe they do this, is the Duck Brand Duct Tape Stuck at Prom Contest. So here's from the current website. These are the top 2 are the winners this year. Those are dresses and tuxes made entirely out of different colored duct tape. The one in the middle, the one that won for the best dress this year, I really like the coronavirus purse that she made, all out of duct tape. These people put in tons and tons of hours to these costumes, these outfits, and they can win a scholarship for doing that. So break out the duct tape and get working. Finally, there's Florida website, floridashines.org. This is a Florida-based site that is just a good overall information site on colleges, programs, paying for college, the 12 different universities we have around the state. You can get information, kind of a good place to go as a good catch-all of information. It's a good starting point, especially if you're going to stay within Florida. And lastly, we have the charter school website, another resource that the charter school has done to help your child succeed. If you go out to the charter school website, click on high school, and then click on the college scholarships financial aid link, you'll find a listing of a bunch of local resources for scholarships. And there is tons and tons of money that's given out locally. All you got to do is apply. So get your child up out of the chair, get them off their Netflix streaming, and get them out there onto the website looking at these different scholarships and applying. There are ones for music, there are ones for medical, there's ones for all kinds of different directed things. Sable Trust even contributes to scholarship every year. So there's tons and tons of money given away. There's the Buffalo Scholarship Foundation that gives away tens of thousands of dollars a year. Go out and apply on these different things. And if you have questions, also if you go to the high school website and you click on guidance, you'll see here, and I've listed by the last name, the letter of the last name, which guidance counselor you want to reach out to. But there's a whole host of information, and they can be found on this site, a whole host of information that you can talk to about the guidance counselors to make sure you're doing the right things and making sure you're eligible for these different things we've talked about today. Well, that's our agenda. We covered quite a broad area from saving to if it's worth it to savings and then sources of money. Can't do Q&A in this virtual environment, but I did put up my email address. Feel free to email me with your questions. Just be real clear in the title, question on the college savings or something like that, so I know what it's in reference to. And I'll get back to you. If I'm busy, it may take me a day or two, but I will get back to you. I answer everyone's questions. Lastly, I put up the slide with all the useful websites. Again, this is out there, but I've put them in one place, so if you want to print one thing out as a reference tool, you can have this. So thank you again, and good luck with your child as they move forward onto the next phase of their life.
Good evening, parents. My name is Leanne Yerk. I'm the elementary principal. And in kindergarten through 5th grade, we are currently discussing the concept of one word to focus on for the 2022 year instead of a New Year's resolution. And John Gordon has a book about it, and there's also his children's book about it. And we've been sharing that with our students, and they have either already selected their one word or they're in the process of doing it. So why don't you ask your child, what is their one word? And we will be displaying those outside all of the classrooms very soon. The last week in January is National School Choice Week, and that is a time for us to bring emphasis to the opportunity for parents to have a choice in their child's education. And you've taken advantage of that and selected the Villages Charter School as your choice for your children, and we want to say a big thank you for doing that. It is our honor and privilege to have your children here, and we appreciate them and you very much. So February is National Dental Health Month, and all of our 1st grade classes will be having dental hygienists visit and put on dental presentations to them and to discuss the importance of brushing their teeth and flossing. So please help us to emphasize that with all grade levels. And all of our 3 buildings, Primary Center, Intermediate Center, and 4th and 5th grade center, at some point in time over the next few weeks, will be having a canned food drive. And the 4th and 5th graders started off in February. So information will be coming home about that. I'm sure you hear in the news how local food banks are in great need So please, if you can spare a can or two, please send it in with your child. I know our local food bank in Wildwood is very excited that we're partnering with them for this community support effort. And it's, of course, an effort to help our community and to teach our children that you're never too young to be active in your community and to give back. So please help us out with that. And it is time for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders to take their second iReady diagnostic. We usually do iReady at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year for many grade levels. However, we wait until February for 3rd, 4th, and 5th to do it, spacing it between the beginning of the year and when they take the state assessment, the FSA. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th will be doing it here very soon, the beginning part of February. 1 week is English language arts or reading. The next week they will take the math session. So please encourage your children to do their best to take it seriously, because this is a diagnostic test. This helps the teachers to see what skills have they mastered since the beginning of the year and which ones do they still need remediation on. So we use it to guide our instruction a great deal. So please have a talk with your boys and girls and ask them to take it seriously. We are here to help you. Please reach out and let us know how we can help you or your son and daughter to continue to have a great school year. Thank you.
Welcome to the February Buffalo Pride meeting. I'm Peggy Irwin, the principal at the Villages Charter Middle School. And I'm just going to talk for a few minutes about some upcoming events. My first thing that I want to talk about is February 3rd is the midpoint for quarter 3. What that means is we're about 4.5 weeks into the 3rd quarter. And so parents, please make sure that you are logging onto Skyward and you're paying attention to what assignments your students have not done. Please make sure that they are handing their work on time. And again, if they need some additional support, we do have tutoring. We have morning homework lab Monday through Thursday from 7 o'clock until 7:50. Again, we also have our afternoon homework lab from 3:30 to 5:15. So if your student stays after school, they could get all their homework done. And please make sure that they are doing their ALEX. ALEX is a weekly grade. So please make sure that your students are completing their ALEX. There's usually 10 topics a week. Okay, we do have a couple of other things. In February, we are high into boys basketball. And if you need some PI time, that's the time to do it. You can call our front office or you can go onto the athletic page and you can sign up to work our concession stand, to sell tickets, or to even collect tickets at the gate. And in February, we are also going to have our winter book fair. That will begin February 16th. And again, those are also awesome PI opportunities. You can help set up the fair. You can work the fair. You can be there for the classes that come in. So there are ample opportunities for some service PI time. Okay, again, I'm just going to say, please make sure that you are having your child check their homework and check their grades and make sure they're getting everything turned in. And we are looking forward to a fabulous end of the school year.
Good evening. Second semester is off to a great start with teachers and students working hard as we continue to close the achievement gap. We're now in the process of implementing Tutor.com to all VHS students. All students now have an icon on their Google Waffle for easy access. With this application, students will be able to access an online tutor through their Chromebooks after school hours, in their own home, or wherever they have an internet connection. This application also provides several enrichment avenues including advanced placement, SAT, ACT, and core-based practice work to help students fill learning gaps and enhance their learning opportunities. VHS is also providing extra tutoring in all core areas by utilizing space in the Culinary Cafe from 3 to 6 each afternoon on Monday through Thursday. This provides tutors from core area classes in a supervised setting for those students in need of extra coursework help. Students can also access tutor.com and Apex Learning at this time and receive extra help if needed. VHS utilized funds from the ARP ESSER II grant to create several new support positions in hopes of narrowing the learning gap for our students. The following jobs were created and have been filled: response to intervention specialists, English language arts interventionist, math interventionist, literacy specialist, 2 discipline deans, and an additional ESE support facilitator. We're already seeing great results in a short amount of time with the addition of these new positions. The VHS Construction Academy is ahead of schedule this year on their build and almost have their 4th house completed. In fact, the dry-in celebration was held last week where the construction crew actually got to meet the family that will be moving into the new Habitat home. We will be then partnering with another entity on a construction project where our construction crew will be helping to build tiny homes. Winter sports are experiencing a successful season all the way around. Boys varsity basketball is 17-6. Girls varsity basketball is 11-13. They're working really hard. Boys varsity soccer, they're 9-2-1. Girls varsity soccer is 9-2, and they are preparing this week for district tournament, which is held here at the range. VHS wrestlers are going strong, winning the St. John's Memorial Holiday Tournament and the Under the Lights Invitational, and working their way through district matches. Girls weightlifting finished the regular season undefeated with a 7-0 record, winning the district title. They placed second in the region, losing only by 2 points to Eustis High School. Three lady weightlifters took first in 3 different events at the regionals, and 12 young ladies qualified for state. Great job to our student athletes and coaches so far during this winter sports season as we gear up for an event-filled spring sports schedule. As you know, VHS is a very busy place, so I would encourage you to make sure that you're consistently checking Skyward, Hot Topics, and email for regular updates. Thank you and have a good evening.
Welcome to the Church 7 training video. During this session, we will discuss some of the various questions parent users have in regards to Easy School Pay's website. Linking students. In this section, we will review how to link your child or children to your account. It is necessary to have your child linked to you in order to perform various transactions within Easy School Pay. To start, log on to Easy School Pay with your credentials. Click the My Students option. Click the button labeled Link Student. Confirm the correct district appears in the box marked District. If no district appears, you can click the blue search icon to the right to search for the district. If you are using the search icon, you will see various search options to search for the district. Fill in the search box accordingly by searching by your district name, city, state, or zip, and then click Search. Please note, it is not required to fill in all of these boxes. Once you hit the search button, you should see your district appear towards the bottom. Check the box on the district your child attends and click the Use Selected Districts and Close option. Next, you will search for your child to be linked. In this search, you'll have two options. You can search by last name and student number, or if you are unsure of the student number, you can search by the student first name, last name, and birth date if that option is available for your school district. In this case, the birth date option is not available. But you'll see a red asterisk if it is required fields needed in order for the search to be performed. Once you have filled in your search boxes, click Save, and your child will be linked if an active match is found. So I'm going to show you without the birth date option first. Once you fill in the last name and the student number, you click Save, and your child will be linked if an active match is found. You'll notice here that it did find an active match. Now I'm going to click Link Student again, and this time I'm going to choose a district just so you can see what it looks like when birth date is available. So I'm just going to choose Harris School and search. I'm going to select the school district. Use selected districts and close. And you'll see on here, this particular school district, you can do this by student number, or you can choose by birth date. So it's only available for districts that have the birth date option enabled. And then you'd fill out the appropriate fields that have an asterisk, and then click Save, and it would link your student. I'm going to cancel this. And that's all there is to linking your student to your account. The next topic is going to be how to set a low balance email reminder. To begin, basically you logged into Easy School Pay, which we've already done with your login credentials. You click the My Students option. Your child or children will appear on the right, the ones that you had linked to your account. You click the pencil on each child accordingly to modify or edit the detail. This screen will bring you to that specific child in which you would like to add or edit the low balance reminder. Towards the center of the page, you will see the section Low Balance Email Reminder Level. Be sure the box is checked for Send Reminders. To the left of this box, you will add the dollar amount of the low balance in which you would like to be reminded of via email. Then click Save. So let's say I want, if his account gets down to $5, and you would check the box Send Reminders. And then scroll down, you should be able to click Save. That is how you set a low balance email reminder. Now we're going to discuss how to change the primary method of payment on file. To begin, you would log into your Easy School Pay using your credentials and click the Billing Setup option. If you currently have a card or checking account on file and would like to add a different method of payment, you would click Add Credit Card or Add Checking Account. I'm going to click on Add Credit Card. You need to fill in the appropriate fields that are marked with a red asterisk, and then click Save. And your options for payments are Visa, MasterCard, Discover. It depends on your district which ones are available. So choose the appropriate one. If it's not in the list, then it's not available. Once you complete filling out those, then click Save. I'm going to show you what the checking account one looks like. Add checking account. This would be an e-check as the payment type. You'd put the description, mark it if you want it to be the primary account, then make sure your billing address is correct, edit it if you need to, or add an address. the name on the check, and then put the routing number and account number and click Save. If it's not going to be a primary, you do not have to check that box. And I'm going to click Cancel. Our next topic is going to be reoccurring payments. You want to click the reoccurring payments option. You'll have two options within this setup. You can set up your reoccurring payment by frequency. An example would be every week or month, etc. Or you can set up your child's reoccurring payment when it gets to a specific low balance. We'll start with the frequency setup, so I'm going to click Add Reoccurring Payment. Choose frequency. Choose the frequency to which you want the payment to occur, weekly, every 2 weeks, or monthly. Click the credit card that you wish it to be applied from, and then choose the start date that you want the payment to start. Continue until I change or cancel this payment, or you have an option to continue until but not after a certain date, and you would choose that date. Then you want to select or apply it to the accounts that you want these payments to go to. So you would simply check the box for that particular account. Then you would put in the amount of how much you want the payment to be. Now let's say it's going to be $20. And then you would hit Continue. You'll notice on here it says a recurring payment of $20 will be made for Abraham Abe weekly. And then you would click Confirm. I'm just going to back out of that. Now we're going to go over a low balance option. If you choose the low balance reoccurring payment, you choose the credit card, the start date, continue until I change or cancel this payment. Then you also have the option to continue but not after a certain date. You can choose that option, simply apply it, and then tell it how much money you want to be applied to the account, and then you can put the low balance that you want it to trigger this reoccurring payment. So if I say if his account gets down to $2, then he will get a reoccurring payment of $20 every time he gets down to $2. Then you can click Continue, and then you'd want to confirm that a recurring payment of $20 will be made for Abraham Abe when his or her balance goes below $2, and then you would confirm it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to back out of it. That's all there is to setting up a reoccurring payment. Now we're going to discuss email notification. Oftentimes, a parent will state they are not receiving an email notification. This is primarily due to the sender address of no reply at easyschoolpay.com being set to junk or bulk mail. Check the email folder marked junk or bulk to be sure this email address is not marked as junk or spam. If the email from the no reply at easyschoolpay.com is listed in this folder, right-click on the email and go to the option junk and scroll down to the option never block sender's domain. You will get a message stating the sender of the message has been added to your safe senders list, and then click OK. Now we're going to discuss resetting your password as a user. Log into Easy School Pay, click on My Account, and scroll down and click Change Password. Then you want to enter your new password and confirm it, and then hit Save. And that's all there is to it. Now I'd like to discuss why does my payment status still show pending. I'd like to review this question asked various times by parent users applying payments over the summer months or when the school is closed for the weekend. When logged in to your account, click My Students option. Click the pencil to the left of the child's name. In a scenario, you would see pending payment, and you would see an amount of money in the pending column. Look at the field marked Provider. If this field is marked as Meal Tracker, this means the Meal Tracker unit for that school / district is not turned on, therefore it is not syncing the payment. This does not by any means define the money has not been applied to your child's account. This simply means once the district's unit is online, your payment will sync to the school and the payment will be applied. We're going to cancel this and then we're going to log out. Thank you for reviewing this video. This concludes the session covering various questions parent users have in regards to the Easy School Pay website.